Hey, hi y'all. Whoop. We'll let some people join. I think I like it down here a little bit better. Picture looks good. I think sound is good. Let's chat. Hello, thank you for joining. I just started, so we'll give it just a second. Hi, Special K. It's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. I don't think I've done a live on a Tuesday in a while. It's good to be back. Hello, thanks for joining. Hi, Kelly. Yay. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while. Or you haven't been here in a while. Darn, Eva's not in here. Maybe she'll come join before we're finished. Hi Miles, hi Glenn. Tacos. I know that kind of does sound good today. I forgot it was Tuesday. I forgot it was Tuesday until right before I was on. All right, looks like we have some people here. Oops. The big story recently has been Russell Brand. So this is wild. And let me know how you all feel about it. So essentially, what happened is a UK publication, which is where Brand lives, a publication called, I think it's like the Sun Times and Channel 4 Dispatches, which it's important to note that Russell K. Got a meeting, everyone. Have fun. Okay, see ya, John. Have fun at your meeting. So Russell Brand used to work for Channel 4 Dispatches. Well, they found four ladies to come and give some allegations on Russell Brand. I looked through some of them, and there's one set of allegations that's, I mean, it's pretty damning, and the detail and the stories are very detailed. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, why is this all of a sudden happening all at the same time? Oh gosh. I'll talk about that in a minute. Royce Kirby, quick question. Is the Senate making special exceptions for John Fetterman by allowing him to wear a hoodie and gym shorts? Yeah, well, they just changed. By the way, the Senate, they just changed the dress code. You don't have to wear a tie anymore or a suit shirt. And it does appear that they're doing that to appease Fetterman, who shows up to work in a hoodie every day. And yes, gym shorts. And I know that he had some health issues. He had a stroke. I understand that he went to the hospital for depression. I get it. But he also said when he was running that he would be able to work just the same as anyone else. Clearly, he can't. And now they're defending it. It is sad to watch decorum just go downhill uh, everywhere. I mean, sometimes granted, I dress comfortably when I go to the airport, but I even hear stories about the airport, how people used to get dressed up to go on a plane and fly. And now you see people just, they look like bums. They look like bums. You could understand him. I think that's what his interpreter said. Maybe his wife said that. But he's hard to understand. He also, I mean, he had to leave. I can't even remember how long he was gone. He was hospitalized for depression. And look, I have the utmost sympathy for anyone going through depression. I think we've all probably gone through it. Doesn't mean you have the actual diagnosis of chronic depression, but we've all gone through depression. It's hard to get things done. I clearly sympathize with people, especially having a health issue like that. But you also have to be able to run the country just like Joe Biden. Yeah, I have some, he's an older man. He's 80. He's clearly suffering from some kind of, whether you want to call it dementia or whatever it is, there's something going on. And while I don't like him as a person, I think he's a liar. A part of me feels bad. You know, he should be at home in retirement, enjoying his family and going to sleep at the beach. And obviously, it does affect his presidency. 40% of his presidency, he's been on vacation at the beach. And then there was that video of him falling asleep at Maui when they were gathering together to honor the victims and what had just happened. He fell asleep because the man is 6 hours away from his original time zone. He's traveling all over the place. I get jet lag when I go to California. Of course he was. He's old. He probably shouldn't be traveling around that much. He's an old man. He's 80 years old. And it's not just, and I mean, I've met some 80-year-olds that are incredibly spry and sharp and you would never guess, but Biden's not one of those. He's not one of them. All right, let's get to Russell Brand. So a lot of these, let me know what you guys think about Russell Brand because the latest, okay, so anyway, all of these allegations came out, a documentary and a few of these publications. A documentary came out a few nights ago. It was Channel 4 Dispatches, which, yes, Russell Brand used to work for Channel 4 Dispatches. And the ladies presented their story. Although what was odd is they used actresses. So it wasn't even the ladies that were telling their own stories. It was actresses and their faces were blacked out. Also, they were anonymous. Okay. So there's that. And obviously, we don't know if the allegations are true or not. We don't. And obviously, I think we all do. We all stand with victims. But I ask myself, the timing of all this feels sus. And the latest news with Russell Brand is because of these allegations, his YouTube channel was completely demonetized. So they demonetized his YouTube channel, citing that his behavior in the past is not good for the ecosystem of YouTube. So something that has nothing to do with YouTube, something that hasn't been proven in a court of law. And that to me sets a pretty scary precedent because even in our court of law, they say innocent until proven guilty. And these are just allegations. That's what they are. They're allegations, which doesn't mean they're not true. It doesn't mean they're not credible, but they're allegations. They haven't gone through a court of law. And from what I understand, the women haven't reported this to authorities, at least as of yet. And there's no statute of limitations. At one of them, which was probably the most damning, there was a text message that was released, and then there was also a R kit, the kit that you get after an assault. But there was no police report because she goes on to say that she didn't file a police report. She was afraid of the backlash. But now all of a sudden, she's coming forward. Yeah, why did they wait so long? Well, I kind of have an answer for that because the original publication, I think it's is it this? I'll have to look at what the original publication actually said within the publication that the girls decided to come out after being approached by reporters. One of the girls, oh my gosh, I don't know if I still have this. I think I do. We'll find it. Just give me a second. That's what I have to ask. I always ask, like, because there's always a motivation. Everything you do, you have a motivation, right? So what's the motivation of coming forward now? Down, down. Man, I save a lot of stuff on Twitter. Here we go. Okay, so this is a tweet from Carl Benjamin, and he took, I don't know. Well, we'll get to that. Okay, so Carl Benjamin, 4 anonymous women approached by reporters to make allegations against Russell Brand years after the purported occurrences because Brand is influential and in opposition to the regime narrative. Don't take my word for it. This is from their article. So this is exactly from the article. This is the Times and the Sunday Times out of the UK. Okay, this is directly out of their article. It says, all said they felt ready to speak only after being approached by reporters. Several said they felt compelled to do so given Brand's newfound prominence as an online wellness influencer with millions of followers on YouTube and other sites. So they essentially say it right there. And so they were approached by reporters, and because he has got this newfound thing. Now they're coming forward. Well, here's the thing about that. Russell Brand he's been famous for a really long time. He's been influential for a very long time. He's also been extremely open about the fact that he was addicted to drugs and sex. He was extremely promiscuous. Even if you watch footage from him, like way back in that time when he first became like extremely famous, like the Sarah Marshall days, all of that stuff, you could tell he was very open about how many women he were with. He was extremely flirty, almost to the point where I was uncomfortable. But again, that doesn't mean you're doing anything illegal. But at that time, the media, everyone knew about him, and he was very open, and they praised him at that time. Russell bad, Hunter good. Yeah, everyone praised him at that time, and no one had any issues with his behavior, and none of these women came forward. And the thing about, if you are assaulted by someone, I get being afraid to come forward, and I get, being afraid of backlash, especially if it's someone that's, very rich and very famous. But sometimes you also do it because you don't want other people to be victimized. So these girls, not only did they not come forward to proper authorities, but if what happened to you is true and you didn't say anything, now he could go on and victimize other people. There was a story. You can look this up. It's really interesting because it has a twist to it. There was this story from the University of Virginia, and there was a really bad assault that happened to a woman back in like 84, I think, a long time ago. So she was a freshman at the time, and she was still 17. She was only at the school for 2 weeks and went on a date with a guy in a fraternity. Well, he brought her back to the fraternity house. There was a party. She only had a few sips of the drink. The drink had something in it, and a really, really awful assault happened to her, which left her with very foggy memory of the night before. It left her bloodied and bruised. It was really violent. So she goes directly to authorities. She goes to the dean of the school, to everyone, and they essentially dismiss all of her claims and tell her to just go back to school and carry on. So she had to spend the rest of her time at UVA, like having this secret. Nobody really believing her. Anyway, the story gets pretty crazy. Fast forward like 20 years, and she's living her life, has a family. He's living his life has a family, and apparently he's living in Las Vegas, and he's going through Alcoholics Anonymous. Guess he has an alcohol problem, and one of the activities that they want him to do in AA is write apology letters to people. If there's anything that you did and you want to apologize. So what did he do? He wrote an apology letter to her and he sent it to her. Well, in that apology, he's admitting to a crime. So she goes to authorities, shows them the letter. There's no statute of limitations on that crime in Virginia. So he got in trouble. He went to jail. See, that story to me, that makes sense. You know why she tried to go forward at the time. No one believed her. She finally had evidence. She had a full-on confession in this letter. I'm guessing he didn't think she was going to go to authorities, but to me, like, that story, that makes sense. The timing on that makes total and perfect sense. Then you have to ask, what's the motivation on the timing here? Well, they say it because now he's a prominent wellness person. So that's why they're coming forward. They're not hiding it. They say it. That's why they came forward. And my question is there going to be, some of these are extremely serious allegations. Is there going to be a criminal investigation? Are you going to enforcement? The local police in that area have even said, we've gotten no reports on these incidents, and we urge anyone to come forward and we'll investigate these crimes. And they also mentioned that they reached out to the Sun Times and they haven't heard anything. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's a pretty scary precedent to be set to have allegations. And yes, they're bad, but they're still not proven in court. They're merely allegations. And to just take everything away from someone for that, because it wasn't just his YouTube channel that went down. I think his manager abandoned him. They canceled the rest of his tour. He was going on tour. They canceled the release of his book. So it's just a whole canceling, like a whole slew of things. And the allegations, they range from 2006 to 2013. So that's 10 years ago. And again, this is the time that he said he was really struggling. What kind of influencer is Russell? Liberal, conservative? I don't think he's a liberal or a conservative. He just kind of speaks out against the mainstream narrative. I would imagine his political leanings are actually pretty liberal, but he questions a lot. Like he talks about some of the things that we talk about here. He talks about the WEF, the WHO. He talks about globalization. He talks about big pharma and all of these things that you're not supposed to talk about. So I think that's what the takedown is. Also, I do think there is an air of, I don't know how much it is, but sometimes I do think there's an air of a little bit of jealousy when somebody who's independent gains that much success talking about the things that you're not supposed to talk about as a journalist. Hello, Sir TDS. John said, "I've watched his channel quite a bit." Yeah, I actually enjoy his channel a lot. I've come to really enjoy people that aren't so open about their political leanings, but more so just, question the narrative, question the mainstream narrative. Russell is weak on China, but I don't think he should be canceled if he's innocent. He leftist, but if he asks questions he's not supposed to ask, they paint him as right wing. Yeah, that's exact. I mean, it's the same as Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is not like a Republican or a conservative, but because he questions the mainstream, he's a right wing extremist. How much longer are they even going to be able to get away with that? Right wing extremist. You're a right wing extremist. So funny. Happy Tuesday from Arkansas. Happy Tuesday, James. And then now, also with Russell Brand, it's like the floodgates open. And now everyone that worked with him was like, yeah, he made me uncomfortable and he made me uncomfortable. And so everyone else is coming out now all at the same time. Well, why didn't you say anything then? Remember Bill Maher was right wing a few months back? Oh, yeah, even Bill Maher. And sometimes I actually really enjoy watching Bill Maher, although Bill Maher has a serious case of Trump derangement syndrome, and he gets flare ups anytime you bring up Trump. I mean, it's just like full on TDS flare up anytime you bring up Trump around him. That's definitely a blind spot for Bill Maher. It's Trump, but I do enjoy Bill Maher because he talks about the absurdity of woke culture, and it is absurd. Another thing that somebody brought up about Russell Brand is that it used to be common practice amongst journalists that if you have someone coming out and making allegations, you have to name your source. And the sources are completely anonymous. And they even had actors to portray them in the documentary. And even the actresses were like blacked out. The name, yeah, it does. Who else has it? I don't know if you guys know who Sam Harris is. I can't even stomach him anymore, but I actually used to enjoy him and I used to enjoy watching his talks. You look him up if you don't know who he is, but he's another one that he just went crazy. Serious Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, you want to know that story I told you about the girl from UVA? This is really crazy too. So she had this story, and this is her story. Some lady stole her story and went to the Rolling Stone. You can look it up. And basically told a different girl's story to the Rolling Stone. And so the original girl, just going through life, reading articles, And she's reading this story and she's like, wait a second, that sounds exactly like my story. So the Rolling Stone actually had to redact the entire thing. Rolling Stone. So people do make stuff up sometimes. So, yeah, actually, The Guardian wrote about it. 5 years on, the lessons from the Rolling Stone are story. So, some lady hijacked her story and told it to the Rolling Stone. 5 years ago, when Sabrina Rubin Erderly's A Rape on Campus article first appeared, the bombshell story ignited a conversation about violence on college campuses. First published in Rolling Stone in November 2014, the roughly 9,000 word feature story described a student called Jackie's experience at her first fraternity party at the University of Virginia, and specifically her account of how she was brutally arred by 7 men and other fraternity brothers looked on. Oh, that was another, I think it was several people that attacked the girl. The Okay, so the woman that told the Rolling Stone story was fake, but the story itself was actually real. She just hijacked the story from someone else. In the story, Jackie was pushed through a low lying glass table and pinned to the ground amid the shards of glass. She heard a voice say, "Grab its mother effing leg." Okay, okay. But cracks soon surfaced in the story. Erderly hadn't fact checked her central source, and Jackie's claims were not born out of subsequent reporting. "We have come to the conclusion that our trust in her was misplaced," Rolling Stone wrote of Jackie before ultimately retracting their story. So they had to retract the entire story. Now, 5 years later, in the aftermath of Me Too, what was its legacy really? In a way, this story preceded a wave of high profile dedication to assault reporting across news organizations, as well as attacks from many, including the president and his supporters, that the media are enemy that can't be trusted. The story's trail of destruction was also significant for the people directly involved. Rolling Stone faced years in the courts, paying out millions to those who suffered reputational damages, losses that may have contributed to the sale of the magazine in 2017 amongst financial storms. Elderly's public life, as embodied by her Twitter account, still seems frozen, a perfect time capsule of a moment right before everything came down around her. Her last tweet on November 30th of 2014 is a Washington Post profile looking at how the UVA story came to be. Shortly thereafter, the story of Rolling Stone's reporting failure would eclipse the larger problem of the systematic abuse and mistreatment of women across college fraternities and beyond, even as it would help inspire. In 2012, there was blanket coverage of the Jerry Sandusky trial. That's the original one. Convicted of R. Okay, but you get the deal. So this ended up being a pretty big deal. And you want to know what? The fraternity house in question, you guys. So it's this. This is the fraternity house that it happened in. I used to date someone that went there when I was like 20. My boyfriend was in this fraternity. I was living in Virginia at the time, and he was in this fraternity, and we used to go sit on the roof and drop bottles down. Don't do that. That's not safe at all. But they thought it was hilarious. So I've been in this fraternity house quite a bit. It's a huge house. So, well, the Rolling Stone and journalists found guilty over false reporting. I was, and they used to get in fights with Roman candles. Very dangerous. But I mean, that house is huge and it's easy to get lost in. So yeah, people, I mean, people can even lie to publications, and publications can have faulty reporting, which isn't to say that anyone's allegation is false, but that is to say that maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't jump the gun on just completely canceling someone. Naughty. I think he still lives in Charlottesville. I think you've become more conservative since then, Sarah. Oh, I for sure have. There's even things that I did or talked about on this channel even like a year ago that I've changed so much. I even danced back in the day. I wouldn't do it now, but I right before the pandemic, on the evening of, it was my brain just blanked out. Oh, it was New Year's Eve, right before 2020. I danced. I had a burlesque show at the Magic Castle. I danced burlesque, which you're not naked, so it's not that, and it's choreographed and costumed and everything. But even that, I'm like, I would never do that now. Never. I've changed, but I think that's a good thing. Sarah was a secret agent when she was at the fraternity. You know what though? I dated him mostly in the summertime, so I never actually saw like a full blown out party there. It was just kind of the scragglers that hung around during summer break. So I never really, there were only like a few people partying there. I never really got the full thing. What do you think of Senator Susan Collins' threat to wear a bikini at the Senate floor to protest the new dress code? Well, I don't, oh, I guess we didn't talk about it, but there was a, well, the whole Lauren Boebert story came out. We can talk about that if you want to. Um, someone said that she should show up in a string bikini. Can we see a dance, Kelly? Can you? I don't even know what dances I did. Thank you very much for the super chat, Kelly. I don't know what dances I did. Susan Collins in a bikini. I wish. Oh, hold on. I'll show you some of my costume though. I actually have some of it. Hold on. I'm going to go blank for just a second. I'm going to show you some of my costume. Okay, I'm back. This is why I like it when Kelly's here, because she always asks me about this stuff. And I get to play show and tell. Okay, so these were my feathers. These are so cool. So I have two of them. It's hard to see because of that. So I would hide behind them like this. And they're so fun. I actually wanted bigger ones, but they didn't have those in the color I needed. So these were my feathers. I love these things. They're awesome. Then I don't have the rest of my costume. It's actually still in California. And then I loved this little thing. This is really cool. Okay. I called these my tail feathers. And so that's like the back. And you basically see it like this. Trying to get a good, okay, like that. And you basically tie it on yourself. So these are in the back. And I called them tail feathers. They're a little messy, but how cute is that? I will say I do like the costuming. That part is really, really fun. But that's, yeah. You can kind of cool. Show and tell. I do miss these things. These are fun. Sarah, you should wear that on the Senate floor. should. I mean, it's just like I just wish we had things that were still like really nice. I feel like we should. I feel like if you work for if you're a senator and you work in Washington D.C., I think you should dress nice when you go to work. I worked at JP Morgan Private Bank for a little while and I do kind of miss dressing up for work. Keep Chucky away. Ugh. Oh yeah, wasn't that Chuck Schumer's thing? It was Chuck Schumer's thing, wasn't it? When the burlesque stream happening. Didn't you have one in an old skit? A what? Probably. I don't know what exactly you're referring to, but I probably had something in an old skit. Sarah, they used to have some burlesque shows on TV during the 70s and 80s. I know, and I really like cabaret style performing. Being in like a smaller venue and having almost like a variety act, just different acts coming out. I love that. I probably did have a similar costume. I used to have all kinds of costumes. But that's my favorite. If there is a perfect show, like if I were to go back to wanting to perform anything live, I would. And actually, I was working on that before the pandemic. I was studying different types of performance. That's why I did that. And then the pandemic happened and everything was shut down. But I wanted to do like a really small burlesque style, or not burlesque, but a cabaret style show. I thought that that would be cool. Lauren Boebert. Let's talk about that while we're talking about being indecent. Oh, wow. Moore County, Tennessee courts won't even let you in the courtroom if you're wearing shorts. I did do a little bit of singing, but I don't think I'm very good at it. It's pants or get a failure to appear warrant. I'm not really mad at that. I also get kind of annoyed when people show up in court just looking very. I mean, even I had to go to I had to go to court for a traffic ticket once. It was like I think I was going a few miles over the speed limit. I don't know. I went to court for a traffic ticket once, and I still felt like, I need to look nice in court. I need to look presentable. I couldn't believe what some people were wearing. Like, they looked like they just rolled out of bed. And granted, it was traffic court, but to me, I'm like, it's still court. Okay, so Lauren Boebert, I'm sure you guys have heard the story and seen the videos. And I had kind of mixed feelings. So if you didn't hear, here's the update with the story of Lauren Boebert. And before I start, I'm very familiar with the theater that she was at. So she went on a date with a guy at a big theater in Denver. It's called the Buell Theater. It's a really nice theater. It's within the Denver Center for Performing Arts. So she was in this theater watching a Broadway performance of Beetlejuice. And in the theater, she was being disruptive. She was being kind of loud. She would have her hands in the air. She was doing flash photography, which is like a no-no in a theater, especially with the lights out. She was vaping, and then a video came out of her date just full on groping her. So all this came out, and you had Democrats saying she needs to resign, get her out of office. And then you had some Republicans defending her. I was kind of in the middle. I'm like, it is embarrassing. Don't act like that. You're in your 30s. You're on a date. Like, that's so embarrassing to act like that in person. But does it make her not fit to lead? Is it going to make me not vote for her just because of that? No, I don't think so. I do think it's embarrassing. And I'm very familiar with that theater. And I do think if you're an elected official, like you should behave maybe in public, especially. So I don't know if you know this about the Denver Center. That's like a city building. So this is a representative of Colorado, and it's a city building, and it's a very well respected building. It's a beautiful complex. They get Broadway shows, they get ballet. I think I saw the Nutcracker at the Buell Theater, and she was being really obnoxious, and some of the worst parts were there was a pregnant woman sitting behind her asking her not to vape, and she said no and continued to vape and then called the pregnant woman miserable. And then her first apology, well, actually, no, Lauren didn't apologize. She attempted to spin it the next day, say like, and I think she tried to spin the whole thing like, oh, I was just a little too excited and they kicked me out. So she wasn't really honest. I think she got surprised after that because there were cameras. I guess she didn't know that there were cameras, but all of it is on camera, and you just see that it got so much worse, and she wasn't honest. She said she wasn't vaping, it was just the smoke from the show. It was very clear she was vaping. So, I think the whole thing, it's just stupid behavior in public. Yeah, exactly like what you said. Yeah, just really, like, embarrassing and kinda trashy behavior, in my opinion, but I'm not gonna say she needs to resign. But I do think you shouldn't behave like that when you're, especially, and like I said, it's a city building. It's a government funded building, and you are a representative and you're acting like you've never been in public. She pulled the Pee-wee Herman. Yeah, it's just embarrassing. Oh, and by the way, I have that theater has a special place in my heart because I lived in Denver when I started acting. So I've taken classes at the Center for Performing Arts. I volunteered there many, many times. I've attended film festivals there. I've seen ballet, Broadway, like all of it. So it is a really nice theater. And it's the type of theater you go out to dinner, you get dressed out, you get dressed up. That's like your night. That's your big night on the town. So to behave like that in somewhere, Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, but I'm not gonna say go ahead and resign. I will say this. So she's going through a divorce. Her husband, I or her ex-husband, he released, I'm gonna read it for you. I almost cried this morning. Let me know how you feel about this. But he actually, I think this was such a good move on his part because no matter what she does, like that's still the mother of his children. He obviously wants to defend her. But he actually said something really, I thought really, it made me see if I can find it. Where'd it go? Why didn't I save it? I know, I didn't realize she's a grandmother. Yeah, she's a grandmother. Oh, okay. So, all right, somebody retweeted it and said Lauren Bobart gropes man in public while she is separated but not divorced from her husband, and husband is the one who apologizes. The fruit of a culture where women are unconditionally angels and men are unconditionally devils, and men and women both sin. I don't know. I mean, I think it almost seems like he was just trying to be protective. I don't know. What do you think about this? So her husband, who she's separated, they're actually not divorced. I didn't know that. Oh, and by the way, that was her first date with him. So the husband said, "The people of Colorado's 3rd district and across the nation. I'm writing to address the deep concerns circulating. Watching the attacks against Lauren, I feel the people should know the truth of our broken marriage and burden she has carried for too long. I want to start out by acknowledging that Lauren has always been an exceptional wife, mother, and now grandmother. She has provided me with love, support, honored me through every misstep. Her strengths were always used to cover my weaknesses. Throughout our 20 years together, she has been my rock, my confidant, and my best friend. Her unwavering commitment to our family has been truly admirable, and I am devastated the pain I have caused her. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I deeply regret the choices I made that led to the breakdown of our marriage. I was unfaithful to Lauren in so many ways. I should have always thought my best just as she did. My actions were selfish and thoughtless, and I failed to consider the consequences that would ultimately have one on the person I hold dearest in my heart. This has been a devastating divorce that I hold responsibility for. It upsets me that everyone believes she left me over fame or a new lifestyle that is far from the truth. Then again, most of what is said about our family is untrue. Another battle we have faced together for too long. Much of this is on me because the problem starts at the root. I am the root. The hurt I have caused Lauren was not only significant, but also something she carried within her, bearing it deep inside, while continuing to love people and our country fearlessly with a smile each day. Since our separation, I have embarked on a journey of self reflection and personal growth. I have to understand the importance of honesty and loyalty, and I am committed to becoming a better man, one who can fully appreciate the and reciprocate. I can't talk. Eh, the love and kindness that has been demonstrated to me. Lauren, if you are reading this, please know that I am dedicated to doing everything in my power to rebuild the trust that has been shattered. I stand behind you. You are the hardest working person I know, selfless and overflowing with love. I hate the attacks that are coming your way. In part, this is my fault and you don't deserve this. I am asking for all of you to show grace and mercy towards Lauren in this troubling season. She deserves a chance to earn your forgiveness and regain trust. I have broke her down in so many ways, but she will come out stronger as she always does, and so will I. Huh. I don't know. I didn't think that was him like treating her like an angel, but I think that if you're probably with someone for so long and maybe you did them wrong, yeah, I thought it was a good message. I mean, I had a while back. This is kind of personal, but I had a 10-year relationship with someone a while back, and when it was over, like he probably took care of me a little bit more than he should have, and I think it's because and he was right. I mean, obviously, it takes two people for a relationship to not work out, but, he felt like he really, I think, could have done a lot better throughout the whole thing, and I think he felt a little responsible for me, being single and being on my own, and I think that's just kind of being like I don't know, I feel like that's just kind of being a man, and I don't think he was excusing her. I think he was just like, I'm responsible for putting her in this position where she's out dating and not excusing the behavior because it was gross, her behavior. I don't know. I thought it was kind of a nice message. Why are they fighting? MTG and her need a truce. Both of them have some moments they wish they could take back. Yeah. What are they fighting about though? Why do they have beef? I don't understand that. And unfortunately, Lauren said in her latest apology, I was there as a private citizen, but you're never a private citizen. If you're putting yourself out there, you're not a private citizen. Even if you're a public servant, even when you're not, I'm using the term clocked in. I know they don't clock in, but even when you're not clocked in, when you're not on the job, you're not ever really a private citizen. It's you kind of gave that up when you decided to be out there in the public, and it's unfortunate. That's just the way that it works. You're not a private citizen. Matt Gates and Kevin McCarthy, we understand, girls. I know the ladies. But you're just not. I mean, and that's just the reality. You're not a private citizen. So you just gotta be careful. I was reading a book. It was actually a book by a pastor a long time ago, and he talked about this. He talked about he needed to just go to the grocery store to get something like really, really quick. He just needed one thing. And he was at home and he was all like dirty and was just wearing rags. And then he thought to himself, not that you have to be perfect to go to the grocery store, but then he thought to himself, what if I see people that are in my congregation? Like I want to, I want to look nice. I want to be inspirational. Like I'm the pastor. So he changed and went to the grocery store, and then he did see someone from his congregation at the grocery store. So it's just one more thing of, yeah, that's him as a private person. He's not, up there preaching, but he's still someone that is recognizable and someone that people kind of look up to. Sarah, they reported on Fox News that some of the debris from the F-35 fighter jet was found. I saw that. How do you just lose a plane? $100 million fighter jet. So it was over South Carolina, right? Over South Carolina, and we still don't know exactly what happened, but the pilot ejected himself and the plane just disappeared. Apparently, it had stealth capabilities and wasn't detectable because of that, and they didn't know if it was still flying because it can fly in autopilot for a while, and they couldn't detect it because it was stealth. So they literally put up a hotline to call if you see the plane. Well, yes, they did find debris, but we still don't really know exactly what happened. I don't know why he was ejected yet. Do you have an opinion on Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign? Biden has refused to give him Secret Service protection despite recent threats. I mean, it's pretty clear why. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys heard, but Biden had it shot down. He couldn't even shoot down a spy balloon. Oh wait, they did. They let the spy balloon get all across the United States and then they shot down the spy balloon. Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard, but Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they found a man who was posing to be a part of his security detail, and the guy was armed, and they didn't know who he was. So they took him out, and I don't know if he was trying to assassinate, but you would think, coming from this family, the history that this family has, you would think it would just be decent and it would be not even a question. Of course, we're going to give this person Secret Service. This isn't just any candidate. Look at the history of his family, and his family, again, whether you like him or not, they are a part of American history, and to not provide them Secret Service is wild to me. And I do think he's probably more of a threat, or he probably has more of a target on his back than most people. Autopilot less one pilot. Yeah, it was $100 million aircraft. I saw somewhere said it was $80 million, but I mean, once you're getting up there, 80 million, 100 million. RFK Jr. is weak on China, but he should get Secret Service protection. Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't necessarily think I feel the same thing about Vivek. I love that both of them are out there. I like both of them. I like that they're out there mixing it up, questioning things, and poking holes in the narrative. I love that they're bringing up certain things in conversation. I don't necessarily see either of them as the president. I could be wrong. I always wait until, you know, it's time to decide who or what I'm going to vote for. But I love the fact that they're out there and they're in the mix and they're talking and they're getting media attention. And I think they're shaking things up. So I appreciate that. It's not their money. They don't care. True. That is a very expensive mistake, though. Vivek. Vivek rhymes with cake. I'm probably going to say it wrong the next time. Vivek. I think Trump Kennedy. Yeah. Well, some people were also thinking Trump, Kristi Noem, and everyone, I'm telling you, everyone is having dirt come out against them. Like ever, that's not even so. Kristi Noem now she's being accused of having an affair with a Trump aide while she was married. So that's what's going on with her. And even like right before, now you have Tim Ballard. So Tim Ballard with, well, he used to be with Operation Underground Railroad. Um, the movie Sound of Freedom was based on him and was based on a true story, true accounts of him saving children, and it was a specific story. Well, now he's being accused of stuff as well. So this is Variety. Tim Ballard, the former Homeland Security agent turned anti sex trafficking crusader, whose life provided inspiration to summer box office hit Sound of Freedom, is slamming a recent Vice expose that accuses him of sexual misconduct with 7 women during his time with his organization, Operation Underground Railroad. He was also just in Congress testifying for Homeland Security on trafficking on the border. That was just last week. Oh, someone said, I wouldn't mind a Trump Lake ticket. I like her. Well, my stomach is growling. I need to eat soon. Let's see. As with all of the assaults on my character integrity, this is Tim Ballard. As with all of the assaults on my character and integrity over many years, the latest tabloid driven sexual allegations are false, he says. They are baseless inventions designed to destroy me and a movement we have built to end the trafficking and exploitation of vulnerable children. Wait, Special K. Okay, where's the post? Special K says, I'm being attacked on a James Lindsay post right now. Okay, I'm going on Twitter. What am I going to find? Let's see. James Lindsay on YouTube. What did you say on YouTube? Can I find the video? It's on James Lindsay's YouTube. I want to see what you're talking about. No, I need more information. Is it on New Discourses? I want to know what's happening. I'm being attacked on a James Lindsay post. So it's not James Lindsay. It's a post on YouTube. Here we go. It's tag team. Oh, okay. It's a community post. Well, I need to see. All right. Who did you make mad? Okay, how do I get to community? Okay. 2 hours ago, anti-blackness. What did you say? I don't see you. New discourses. Is it this one? I don't see you. What? Ben Green knows what I think. I don't see you on here. Do you have an alias? Oh, wait, hold on. He has a lot of community posts. Community 2 hours ago, 6 hours ago, 20 hours ago. Bobcat really posts a lot. Was that your stomach? It did growl. I don't know if you heard it. I'm gonna get a sandwich as soon as I get off. A sandwich sounds good, actually. I would love a nice BLT. Is he the guy that campaigns against CRT? Yes, he is. Okay, well, Special K, what did you say? Because I couldn't find it. Unless you have an alias. He does. Yeah, he's really good. Sometimes my issue with James, I absolutely adore him, but sometimes my issue is he's so academic and the way that he talks that he loses me sometimes. And I think sometimes for maybe the average person, he loses them a little bit sometimes. Can I just tell you something? This might not be popular. I love Subway so much. I would be their spokesperson. I get turkey on Italian herbs and cheese, provolone. I get spinach, peppers, onions, black pepper, mayonnaise, and oil and vinegar. It's delicious. I also like Jimmy John's. Did he sort comments by newest first? No, I can't. But he didn't have a whole lot of comments. So I really didn't have to do that. Whoa. Whoa. Some people post really long comments. I had a Subway an hour ago, a club sandwich on white. Maybe I'll have, you know what? I had Subway yesterday. I did. And I have proof. Where's my purse? I have proof because this is how gross I am. My old, it's in my purse. Don't worry, I threw the Subway away, but this stayed in my purse somehow. Maybe I'll have it again today. Subway doesn't have the best record for picking a spokesperson. No, they don't. Jared kind of ruined the whole spokesperson position. It was so sad. Wasn't he the spokesperson for the longest time? And people just loved him. He was the guy that ate Subway every single day and lost weight. And everybody loved him. And then, oops. And I feel like they also like they put something in the air. As soon as you go into a Subway, the smell, it smells so good. I had a friend that used to work at Subway during the summer, and she was a sandwich artist. And we used to get free Subway all the time. I don't know if they still do, but they called them sandwich artists. Jerry Seinfeld used to joke about him all the time. I didn't buy from them for a long time after the Jared incident. You know what? I had a long Subway hiatus as well. I think it was more so where I just didn't really live next to a Subway, and I had other really good sandwich places around me, but they're everywhere where I am right now, so I have Subway a lot. Baked bread smell. That's exactly what it is. It's the baked bread smell. Although I went in there the other day, and I go in there so much that I know some of the people that work there, and they have this new like thing, and it says fresh cold cuts. Now they have like that big cold cut machine, and that's like their whole campaign now, fresh cold cuts. So the guy was making my sandwich, and I was like, so do you cold cut? Do you guys actually cut? And he goes, no, that's a gimmick. Well, I use Subway's meatballs in spaghetti and meatballs recipe. You know what else I really like? We're switching gears here, but I don't know if you've ever had Noodles and Company. Their penne rosa is so good. My girlfriend made me watch Jared docu-series a few months back. I didn't realize how hardcore Jared really went. He wasn't kidding about eating fresh. What exactly did he do? I don't know if I want to know. Oh, the documentary just came up. Has anyone ever recognized you on the street in a restaurant? Mhm. Well, I would get recognized, like, once in a very blue moon for my acting, and it's usually, like that would happen mostly in Denver because I would do local stuff in Denver, but from not necessarily from this channel, more from my Instagram and TikTok, but I've been recognized a few times and it is really weird. And I actually one of the reasons too, I say like if you put yourself out there in any capacity, even if you don't have that big of like a following necessarily, you never know who you're going to run into. And so I had to think about that one day seeing someone, and I did. I looked horrible and I was at the drugstore. And the cashier actually recognized me. She was really nice. We had a nice thing. But yeah, it's been a few times. So I definitely have to think about that. Like be appropriate in public, be kind in public, try to look decent in public. Ooh, no, Dan, have you been watching Convicting of a Murder by Candace? No, but I want to. I never got into the original one, so I don't really know what the lies were per se. Sarah, have you had many celebrity encounters when you lived in Los Angeles? Oh yeah, because I lived in West Hollywood and a lot of them live and are just amongst. So you'll see people like one time I was at I was taking a break from work. I was working part-time at this restaurant and I went to a bookstore because it was right across the street from where I worked. So I would go in there on my break sometimes and just like it was just quiet and relaxing. So I would just look at books and sometimes buy them. Leave me alone. And I was at the magazine rack and Lionel Richie was just standing next to me looking at magazines. One time I went there and Joni Mitchell was there. Just she decided to just come and sign autographs to a book that she was releasing. One time I was literally just eating lunch by myself and I was embarrassed because I had a big beer. It was like 2 in the afternoon and I was eating lunch and drinking a big beer because I was off and I didn't have anything else to do during the day. And Jeff Goldblum was sitting like he was having lunch by himself, sitting right across from me. Um, Who else? Oh, Paul Walker. This one was really embarrassing, and he is very good looking in person. So I was going to hike at this really popular place called Runyon Canyon. And I did hear people said to me before, they said, you know, one of the weird things about living in Los Angeles that people don't really talk about is that you'll see people that you recognize, and your first instinct before it clicks that you recognize them from TV or movies, you think you know, if you're caught off guard, you're like, you automatically think, oh, I went to school with that person or we know each other from real life. And then you realize, oh, no, I don't know you from real life at all. That kind of happened with Bradley Cooper. He was getting out of I just finished the hike. So I was on the street walking back to my home. He was parking on the street, getting ready to go hike. And I believe he had a hat on, but I recognized right away because he has the very distinct, very like piercing blue eyes. So I recognized him right away and was just looking at him, almost getting ready to say hi or something because I didn't know where I recognized him from. And then I realized who he was. And he was looking right at me too. I recognized who he was and then I kind of like got embarrassed. So I just scurried off. But I'm like, I could have just said hello and he would have said hello and moved on. So that was kind of weird. Um, yeah, just a bunch of like, you'll just see random people all over the place. Even just like walking by people on the street sometimes or seeing people at a restaurant. One time, I was very new to LA And I almost hesitate in even saying this, but it was innocent. It wasn't like, because I think he is or was married. Tracy Morgan, the comedian, he was in this black. He was in the back seat on the passenger side of this black SUV. So clearly he was in there with a driver, and it was right at North Crescent and Sunset. And I'd gone to the grocery store and I was walking home, and he rolls down the window and is like kind of hanging out the window. And what he say? I think he called me beautiful, or he said something, but it was so funny the way that he said it. And then the guy in the passenger seat in the front rolled down the window, and I looked over, and all I could say was, and he has a very distinct voice. All I could say was, Tracy Morgan? And we just had a little exchange, and then they drove off. But I couldn't even say that he was really hitting on it. Was just funny. And it was so random. The most famous person I ever met, probably Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne. They came in because I was working at a restaurant, and They our restaurant, it's right by the Hollywood Hills. That's why I so many people would come in there, and it's very inconspicuous, so you don't see a lot of, like, paparazzi hanging out or anything. So a lot of people would come see us, or a lot of people would come in, people that just wanted low key. I've also seen Ann Coulter in that same restaurant, and I've seen Michael Knowles and Andrew Clavin from the Daily Wire, and I actually introduced myself to them. They were very, very nice. They would go, and you see it on their show all the time. They smoke cigars. We had a cigar lounge. So a lot of famous people, like a lot of athletes, would also come and hang out in the cigar lounge. And I saw Michael Knowles and Andrew Clavin in there twice. And one time I waited on them. They were really, really nice. Just like they are on their shows. But Ozzy Ozzy Osbourne, Sharon, and then the 2 kids, Jack and Kelly, they came in because Ozzy and his son Jack, they had a show that was premiering on, I think it was like A&E or something, where they would go travel to these historic sites. Well, anyway, they were doing a showing of the first episode in our attic at our restaurant. So it was them and a bunch of their friends just kind of celebrating watching the episode. And yeah, I think Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne probably the most famous because they're kind of just they've been around for so long. Ozzy Osbourne's kind of just a legend. And probably like along the lines of like, even though I didn't say hi to Lionel Richie, like Lionel Richie and Joni Mitchell. I mean, Jeff Goldblum's pretty big. Oh, here's a funny story. It's all coming back. I forget about these things. Okay. So I was working an event. I used to work and help out with events part time. And we were working big a really big it was a convention. It was like a Google convention or something, but it was a convention that lasted 3 days, and I was working it all 3 days, like really long shifts. And beside us, it looked like they had been filming something, like they were filming a movie or some kind of production, because you would see the trailers, like the camera cranes and the lighting and just all the equipment and the crew, but I had no idea what they were filming. And the last day, so it was the third day, I was exhausted, just ready to go home. And I was right outside the building trying to call an Uber. And I was annoyed because the service was really bad. What is his name? I just forgot. He's a Scottish actor. But anyway, it was a really famous Scottish actor. I'll look him up in just a second. And it was funny because they had just finished filming. So they had wrapped the film, and he was getting ready to travel overseas to film another film. So he's out there just kind of chit chatting. He's taking pictures with the crew, saying goodbye. And then he's next to 2 crew members, and they were like, did you just shave your head? And he goes, oh yeah, it's for another film. What is his name? But I was standing right next to him, and I was getting so annoyed because they were just chatting. I'm trying to call my Uber, and then I realized, no, not Liam Neeson, not okay, I can find him. Hold on. Ewan McGregor. That's who it was. Yeah, it was Ewan McGregor. But it was really funny because it was actually really cute to see him. He was so nice and kind to all the crew, and he was taking pictures with everyone and just kind of just sitting there chit-chatting and joking with them, so that was pretty cool. I didn't even realize that was him until after that whole thing. I had to Google him. I could tell obviously it was someone famous by the way people were reacting to him. Sarah Jessica Parker, I've never seen her. Yeah, I used to get mistaken a lot for not mis mm, I maybe only got mistaken once, but I people think I look like Kristen Bell a lot, and we actually happen to be the same exact height. I don't think we look as much alike anymore, but there was a period of time we had the same exact haircut and our faces were like the same shape and we looked identical and we were the same exact size. Who else have I seen? I don't know. Actually, the last time I was in West Hollywood just a few weeks ago, maybe actually a month ago, I was in West Hollywood and I was just walking on Sunset Boulevard going to get something to eat, and I walked past Polly Shore. Did I ever cross paths with Tori Spelling? No, but my boyfriend worked with her. He worked in fashion, and she had like a kids fashion line. So like he met her a few times, and I think they briefly worked with her. Cross paths with Tori Spelling. I feel bad for her. I think she's going through a divorce. Don't you laugh? No, I love Polly Shore. His mom, I have a lot of respect for his mom. His mom used to run the Comedy Store, which is on Sunset Boulevard. She's a very, very well respected lady. She passed away a few years ago. Never saw Amber Heard, thankfully. Never saw Amber Heard. Never saw Johnny Depp, although you wanna know something? I don't know if you guys watched the Johnny Depp trial, but they often talked about the Sweetser house. So he had a few properties around Los Angeles. One was downtown Los Angeles. It was that, like, old apartment building, and he had the Sweetser house. I actually lived in the Sweetser house. It's really interesting where it's positioned because it's really like right at the bottom of the Hollywood Hills, although you can't see it at all from the outside, which are the way a lot of homes are. So it's at kind of the bottom of the hills, but it's very hidden. I lived 2 blocks from there. So where um, I lived on this little road called DeLongpre. I literally lived like 2 blocks from Johnny Depp's Sweetser home. Although you would never know unless you knew that was his home. You would never know that there was even a mansion back there. Make sure you're insured in case you never saw Amber Heard. I did see, although I could have cared less about who they were, but one time I did see, I can find the paparazzi pictures too. Kendall Jenner and Hailey Bieber, the Biebs. Yep. So that's where I used to work. I was here that night. So that was Kendall Jenner and some other dudes and Hailey Bieber. That Madison Beer. Anyway, they came. So there's them leaving. They came to our restaurant and sat in the cigar lounge. And I think the reason they came there is because they thought the paparazzi was going to leave them alone. And then the paparazzi found them. So they left. And I never met Justin Bieber, but he used to come in a lot and he would play his guitar in the attic because it was like it's a really tiny little music venue. And then one night when I wasn't working, he came in and sat up there with a few friends and was really nice. Okay, here's the best story. And then I got to go. Now it's all coming back to me. Same place. I wasn't there. It was Sunday at like midnight and not a whole lot of people are there. Obviously, it's Sunday at midnight. They're still open late, but not a lot of people there. Charlie Sheen rolls in with a few of his bodyguards. I'll tell you in just a second, Kelly. Charlie Sheen rolls in with a few of his bodyguards. He's just really lively, talking to everyone, walking around. He gave each of the busboys just $100 out of his pocket, just handed it to them. Tipped all the busboy, and they don't get tips from people, but he gave them each $100, which I thought was pretty cool. The writer strike. I don't even feel I don't feel knowledgeable enough to know about the whole writing industry. I do have probably more feelings on the actor strike, and what really bothers me, the AI stuff, I totally get. Um, Especially for background actors, that's really messed up to scan a background actor and pay them for one day and then use their likeness for more projects. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, sir. So I totally understand stuff like that. Super messed up. And that's how a lot of people get their foot in the door by doing several background jobs and then getting a SAG voucher. That's how they get in the union to be compatible, to be com- compet to be able to compete with other actors. The actors, I mean, I have friends that are striking, and I don't even remember the last time they were even paid to act. I mean, you have to understand it's a completely oversaturated industry. So for every role, there could be like 1,000 people going out for that same role. Also, if you look at the base pay for an actor under SAG, it's over twice the minimum wage. So they're already making over twice the minimum wage. And one of the arguments I heard, yeah, well, most of the people in SAG, they can't even afford insurance or they don't qualify for insurance. That's because most of them are part-time workers. And you have to make a certain amount of money in order to qualify for the insurance. They're just part-time workers. You're in an oversaturated field. You're auditioning with thousands of other people unless you have an extraordinary talent or like something is just extraordinary about you, and even in that case doesn't guarantee you're going to book anything. I mean, it's just I don't know how much leverage they have. Yeah, I think I heard only about 2% of actors make enough to live on. Yeah, because they're part it's you're a part-time worker. It's like only like the people that you see that have regular acting work on television, that's like you just won the Olympics. That's not the rule, that's the exception. There's even people that had really successful careers and now they can't find work anymore. It's just it's a part-time job. I've had tons of part-time jobs and most if not all of them, I've never had insurance. At my part I had to get it myself. And even to join SAG, you pay $3,000 just to join that's the initial joining fee is $3,000, and then you pay yearly dues after that. So you might have an actor that they work one SAG job where they're paid a few $1,000s and then all that money goes to joining. So I don't know. I don't know how much leverage they have, and the argument of we don't qualify for insurance or we can't make this our living. Most people aren't going to make it a living, and that's nothing new. That's how it is. And with the streaming services too, I get where they want people to be more transparent with how much money they make on streaming. But the reason that actors used to make a lot more money on royalties were because those royalties were coming from cable packages in which each household paid $100 or over $100 for a cable package. And now you have streaming services where you're paying $8 a month. So that's not as much money going around. I don't know. I mean, I think the industry just in and of itself is in a very weird place. And sometimes other actors really get on my nerves because they just, it's one of the reasons I had to stop going to acting class because they just all feel entitled to jobs. And there's just too many people. Not everyone is going to have a job. If the if the writers were writers, I feel bad, but they're activists with AI. Yeah. And I'll tell you what also really bothers me. You recently had Drew Barrymore. You recently had, and it still bothers me. I will probably fight someone on this today. um, Drew Barrymore talked about bringing her show back, and she said, we're just going to do it without the writers." She said, this show is bigger than just me. It has my name on it, but I'm not the only one that's employed. She has an entire crew of people who are going to be put out of work. And so she said, I made the long decision to come back home. All the writers just bullied her to oblivion. She caved to the mom. So now her show is being postponed. And all of those people who thought they were going to be going back to work are not going to work. And all the writers, all the people that are supporting the strike are saying, she's so out of touch. How could she? She's supposed to be for the little guy. Yet they're forgetting all the little people who aren't going back to work because she happens to employ just a handful of writers. And I don't know. That kind of bothers me. It's like you're now becoming the bully. And you're right. It's the activist side of things that it just kind of turns me off to actors in general. And I know I'm one of them, but obviously not all of them. So a lot of things about them and the sense of entitlement that they already have kind of bothers me anyway. So that's where I am on the whole situation. Kelly, thank you so much for the super chat. Say hi to Eva for me. I have to go. I had fun. Good evening, sweetie. Bye, everyone. Bye, Kelly. Thank you so much for the super chats and thank you for joining. It was so nice because I haven't seen you in a while. Okay, thank you so much. You have a really good day. Many of the writers are focused on woke trash instead of focusing on story. Star Trek writers are examples of this. Yeah, for sure. Eva the Diva. Eva the Diva. She's not in here right now. Otherwise, I would show her to you. All right, guys. I don't know if I can talk much more. I need to eat something. All right. Trump and DeSantis 2024. You think they would be on a ticket together? They can't. I don't even know if they could be in a room together. All right, you all. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. That was a fun stream. Hopefully, I'll see you all really soon. I'll announce next time I'm live. I'm losing my voice now. I talked way too much. Hi, Braxton. I'm sorry we have to go. Have a beautiful day. I was working. Okay. John, bye. Nice to see you. Sir TDS, it would unite their party, which would be good. True. Good point. They should kiss and make up. Awesome show, Sarah. Thank you very much. Have an awesome afternoon. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you later. Bye.